All right, let's go again. So, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. This is another live coding stream. And today we are going to continue working on a bot that we have been building over the last couple of weeks. If you have been following along, you have seen us complete the bot deployment to Azure, and we started testing it out in Teams, but we ran into a small issue. In the meantime, I know how to resolve that issue, so what I wanted to do today is show you how you can deploy your bot to Teams so that you can run it there, and then I'll show you how to overcome that issue with the authentication. And if that all works out, then we'll see if there's some time left, and we'll continue adding some features that we can make our bot smarter. So first, let's dive into running the bot as it is right now. I'll show you what it looks like in the emulator, and then we're going to try to run it within a demo tenant within Microsoft Teams. All right, so as usual, we'll start with Visual Studio. And if you might be interested in what the project is for today, you can always type that into the chat, and like I did right there. So let's just launch this bot, and it's so that I can talk to it using the bot emulator that I have launched here already. So let's wait a bit. That instance of Teams. Right, so now it's running. Then from the emulator, I have created a bot configuration for dev environment, so I can launch it immediately. And yeah, sure, so it feels authentication, but that makes sense because we are not really authenticated yet. So leftover breakpoints. All right, so here we are. Here is the bot, and I can say hi, and it will ask me to log in. That's basically how it works. Or I should still be logged in. That's possible too. Let's see. No, it wants me to log in. Therefore, I can now log in using, for example, my Spark account. Sign in and approve. Okay, so. And then one of the things that I can ask is who is the customer executive manager, engagement manager of customer. And it will reply me back. So I can do log out, and it will log me out. So this is just the bot running locally, but now we want to access it from Teams. And to do that, I have a demo tenant that I have open here. So in here, I have an Office 365 account, and I navigated to teams.microsoft.com in the browser. I can also use the standalone application, but for testing purposes, it's okay to be in the browser, so I can better switch between all the accounts that I have. And we have Teams, we have chats and all that stuff, but we do not have our bot here yet, so that's what we want to add. So first, let me show you that the bot is actually running inside Azure as well. So I can set up a new connection to Coco Test. This is actually connecting to the test version, and the test version is the one that we are going to use in Microsoft Teams. And as you can see, same reply, but this is in a public URL. So in order to enable a bot within Teams, well, you can do things. Basically, you can find the app ID and type it in here and just start chatting. But that is not really a solution that works well for other employees within the same organization. So what you should do is use the App Studio. So you can see I have not installed App Studio yet. So let me go to more apps here within Teams, and let's search for App Studio. There we go. So App Studio is a tool within Microsoft Teams to build extensions for Microsoft Teams, or well, not exactly build the extensions, but you can define some stuff necessary for extensions. And one of the important stuff is the manifest editor. So here we go. And I can pick an app from here. So I can create a new one, or I can import an existing one. I already have created one, but I want to take you through how to create a new one. So let's go for create a new app. I'll call mine Company Connect Test because it's a test version. This app needs to have some unique ID, and we click just generate. For example, let's call this Company Connect TST or something like that. Version 1.0.0. Some description, long description. I don't want to fill it in completely. So I need to provide some URL, so let's use the same one here. We're not gonna, well, let's touch the browser branding for a little bit here. Let's pick an icon like this. It will take a few seconds, and there we go. So now it has an icon. So basically we created some definition for our app, but it's not actually doing anything yet. So we completed the details. Now let's go to the capabilities, and in particular we are now interested in bots. So let's go to bots, click setup. We can take an existing bot or create a new bot. In this case we created a bot outside of Teams, so we're going to use with an existing bot. And let's name this Coco test, and I need to fill in here the ID of the bots, and you can always find that within the Azure portal. If you go to the bot registration, channels registration, then go to settings, and you have here the app ID that's being used. So we'll paste that in. You can select what features it supports, and in this case we're just gonna use for that the scope is only personal, which means that it can only have a one-to-one chat with our bot. You can also enable it for Teams, so you can use your bot within a Teams channel, or you can go for a group chat, which is a chat that consists of more than two people. But in this case, let's keep it simple for now. We'll just go for the personal, which is a one-to-one chat. I'll save this, and this defines the bots. Then you can also add comments here, which basically tells your user what they can do with your bot. So you can, for each of the different types of menus, or you can specify the commands. We're not going to do that now. I want to figure out if we can do that dynamically, because our bot will learn on the go, and we do not want to update the manifest each time. I'm not sure if that's possible, but we'll figure that out. Then we go to the domains, and we're not gonna set this up yet. So I'm interested in the web app single sign-on. If this works, we may not need to ask the user to sign in, which would be great. And we just jump right to the test and distribute. Here you can download the manifest that we just created, so you can import it in a different Teams instance, or you can submit it for approval, so it can go through the Microsoft approval and be available in the Teams store. But now for testing, we're just going to click install, and it will add our app to this particular instance of Teams. It will tell me that it's going to add a chatbot. So let's click install. And then we find out we are not allowed to upload custom apps. So let's see how we can enable that. Teams enable custom apps. Now, at least we should be somewhere in star.-admin. It's the SharePoint admin. That's not what I need. So let's go to the portal, office.com. Here we can go to admin. Well, I'm sorry, it's in Dutch, but this is admin. And then we go to Teams. And I'm just guessing, so it's underneath Teams apps, probably. And then permissions. Here it says allow all apps. And this is probably the check that I need, because for some reason I'm a first line worker, I guess. Why am I not able to change that? Nice. Right.
It's dark out, I sit in bed, I feel asleep, dark in my eyes. Still awake this late at night. A day done and nothing to write. Some say it's difficult to find, and the words they just stay inside. How about you start at the beginning? You woke up, go wanna listen. Is life like this? Pen to paper alone like this? Is this how they'll see me when I'm gone? Then should I dismiss my real thoughts to protect my kids? Or should I let them see my weaknesses? How will they remember me when I'm gone? Should I let them see my weaknesses? How will they remember me when So I record the same, the wild and mundane. Cause I'm a whole person like they'll be too. I'll tell the truth when I was wrong, and what I sacrificed to be strong. I'll write every day, in the way, even make it a habit that I don't lose. Cause I look back to with a warmer heart at the younger girl I once was. My journal's like a link book to my brain. So reach out to it, cross the gates. Cause everything I am is safe here in my mind. Someone told me that I couldn't be myself. I would be moving more through my doubt. Get a grip on my soul as you read on. It's harder to love me now that you can arrange all my flaws. Category, time, date, and cause. Get up halfway and pause. It's not worth it, there are so many more. Greedy and selfish and borderline reckless. I mostly broke promises I put myself when I told myself till I could feel no more breath. I'd be better than this, I'd be better than this. Only managed to disappoint myself. No one knows, so they can't force me to look for help. It's a cycle of repeated and know so well, but it's secret. Can you keep it? It's dark out, I sit in bed, I feel asleep, dog in my eyes. Still awake this late at night. A day done and nothing to write. Some say it's difficult to find, and the words they just stay inside. How about you start at the beginning? You woke up, go wanna listen. It's dark out, I sit in bed, I feel asleep, dark in my eyes. Still awake this late at night. A day done and nothing to write. Some say it's difficult to
Okay,
find,
didn't know
and the
why I
words
see it
they just stay
before.
inside. How about you start at the beginning? You
So it should be enabled now. Oh, let's go to Teams again. It'll probably take a few minutes before it becomes available.
Should I let them see my weaknesses? How will they remember me when I'm gone? Should I let them see my
Okay,
weaknesses?
try this again.
How will they remember
Refreshed Teams. It's not allowed yet, so. Okay, this probably takes a bit of time. Not sure how long. I'm not gonna wait too long for it. Still a bit too soon. Alright, unfortunately we cannot install it yet in this demo tenant. Then at least we can take a look at we may be able to just launch the bot directly here. So therefore you just paste in the ID, search for it, and it should find it underneath people. When you click it, it will start a conversation, but it has been disabled by my administrator. Shoot. So what is the default policy? So it is enabled, but I guess because I am not able to install it, I'm also not able to chat with it, so that's not gonna work. Alright, then then at least we can also investigate a bit what that option does. So let's pull up my own team. So I already chatted with my bot here. So I've created an app and installed it, and you can tell because it's now available here. And since I have done that, I'm now able to chat with my own bot. So since Teams only when you set up a chat with a bot for the first time, that's the only time that Teams will create a conversation for you. So even if you remove the bot, re-edit, or close Teams and restart it, it will always go back to the same conversation. Therefore, if you want to test what happens when a user first interacts with your bot, that's not really possible, because the conversation update event that happens at the beginning of a chat, or at least when someone is added to chat, and for a one-to-one chat that happens at the beginning, that only happens once in total for the whole lifetime of the bot for a particular user. So if you want to test this, it's not this particular feature, that's not really possible. So in order to work around that, I have created a command which is reset. So if I type in /reset, it will simulate that I started a new conversation. In the background, it will create a new conversation update and send that instead of the /reset command to the bot. Basically, it's just listening for that /reset text, and that's just typical message activity, and it replaces the message activity with a conversation update activity. And like you see, I now get the start of a conversation. So I think I'm now logged out, so I wanted to figure out what does that feature mean. I want to go to App Studio. We can go to the manifest editor, edit this manifest, and where did we see it? Over here, domains and permissions, right? Oh yeah, one of the things I need to show you. This is what wasn't working before, so let me copy it to be sure. So if I do not add this domain as a valid domain, and I have to install it so that I can get the updated version. Let's go to the bot. So first, let's restart. If I now say hi, it will ask me to sign in. But if I click this button, as you can tell, nothing is happening. And that's because that URL that you see here in the bottom, that token.botframework.com, is not listed as a safe domain. So Teams will prevent any messages going to that particular URL. So to fix that, and it's basically easy to do once you know what to do. So you could tell I can enter a valid domain here and add it. And now this is a trusted domain. Now let's reinstall it again. And go to our bot. Now this time, if we try again, it will open up this sign in dialog and I can sign in. But this means that every time a user needs to or wants to interact with this bot, we need to sign him or her in again. And since I noticed that feature, let's see what that does and if it can benefit us. So go here, and here we have the web app single sign-on. So let's go to learn more. And it wants me. What do you want me to do? Let's go to the context of InSpark. Sign in. So it's taking me to the app registration portal, but that does not make sense. And I understand why. Okay, does this work? So here we need to input the app ID. It's the same app that I use for the bot as well as for the authentication. So let me show you. So if I go to our Active Directory and go to app registrations, you'll find here company connect tests, and I'll use this app ID. Resource URL of app for acquiring. I think this should be the same. Let's see if we can find some details.
Take me to the place, yeah, you look at spot where you can see the city lights and the cliff drops up. I've got infinity.
Currently, SSO only works for tabs. Right.
How you gonna sit there like your shit don't stink while I was underage, scared, being offered a
So it's not gonna benefit us with the bots.
made of stone. You didn't care at all. I thought that if I asked nicely or politely, I'd get a bit of quiet in my mind. I'm writing major big letters in the street, baby. I'm neon SOS is glowing in the streets, baby. But I never get that lucky. I'm still struggling to pick the pieces up after this bomb. And I think I have cracked the code for this pain, baby. Been in the dark, but now I think I finally know. I can see clearly now the karma's lazy. I can see clearly now what I've been chasing.
Okay, so
I can see clearly now the time I'm wasting.
this isn't gonna benefit us,
I can see
unfortunately.
clearly now the karma's
So we'll have to reside to authenticating the user like we do already. And it works just fine.
Bad things don't always happen to bad people. Forces that be, please get this unchecked evil. My hair's falling out while he plays with his kids. His loving wife who won't know what he did. Each day I'm getting more distant and
You can
shocked.
specify the authentication the messaging endpoint, so we perhaps can check if the authentication works. So this is the generic ASP.NET MVC authentication. Let's see if it works with that. Therefore, let's start up ngrok. Maybe I don't need it. Just put in the endpoints, my local hosts. 3979 must be HTTPS. Then I can still use ngrok. So ngrok. I want to create an HTTP tunnel for port 3979. And I want to use my own subdomain so that we can get a static. That's not going to work, obviously, because ngrok is also running in my emulator. This gives me this address that I can insert here. And now, if I were to say hi, let's see if I really need on turn async. I was expecting it to end up here, but it's not. Okay. So it's not really using setting, maybe? I thought I updated this. Okay, I needed to tap away. What about now? Okay, still going to the test endpoints, not to my local dev. I don't see anything in there. It has been changed. Maybe it takes some time to update. Let's try it once more. There we go. So it says the authentication failed, but we may be able to inspect the token. So if we go to the request headers, there we find the authorization header. We can pull out this token. Then if we open the browser and go to jwt.io, we can paste in here token, and on the right we can see who supplied this, and it's not giving us too much to go on. So it's not picking up the authentication as I was hoping. But anyway. So this isn't working, obviously. But we are able to test out our bots locally, which is also nice. Let's change it back for now to point to our test version in Azure. So let's figure out what the endpoint should be. So if I go to the resource group and then app service that hosts this bot API, and I need to copy this URL, take it back here, and tap out of it. And then install it. In the meantime, let's see if we are finally able to install it here. So let's go to App Studio, to the manifest editor, to test and distribute, install. Install it. Still not working. Okay. Then never mind. Alright, so this works. Perfect. We have the authentication sorted out, so we can communicate with our bots. Then I think it's also time to see if we can run it in production. I have created a pipeline to deploy this thing. I need to make sure that we are running the latest version in production. So if we look here, we have a release, happened earlier today. That's right. And I want to have this release on production. Yes, please. Why are you not loading? Alright, refresh and works. Okay. Now let's deploy it to production. That will take a short amount of time. In the meantime, we can start creating the manifest for the production version of Next. And maybe it's just take this version and export it, download. So we're going to replace the icon by this icon. That way we can easily distinguish the one from the other. There we go. The outline we can do later, but let's open this up with Visual Studio Code. We can make necessary changes. For example, the ID needs to be different. Let's generate some GUIDs. This is not the test version, so let's get rid of that. called company connects. Let's get rid of the static tabs. Not really necessary. And then bot ID is different. Let's go to Azure Active Directory, registrations, to this one. Get rid of that as well. That should do it, I think. Let's see what happens if we import an existing app. Oh, should zip it up. Add to our zip. Downloads. There we go. So now we have basically a copy, but it's pointing to different bots. Domains have been set. Yeah. And install. So this should give us a second app. And as you can tell, this one is the first time I chat with it. Let's see if the deployment is completed. Yeah, it succeeded. So if all is well, I should be able to log in here as well. See if that all works. And there we go. So this works perfectly. So now we have the same version of the bots available on production, which is kind of nice. So that's something that we should fix. All right, so we can extend our bots with a custom connector, and maybe we should make a copy of the custom connector as well, so that we have a production version. Therefore, I go here. First, let me delete any previous version of the. I exported it today, so not sure that's the best version. So let's get rid of it. Let's go into the custom connector. Let's download it. It will give us this JSON file, which with the OpenAPI specification, and then we can import it here. The custom connector, edit, import it from this file, downloads folder. There we go. Why is there no color here? Let's find the right color. Our brand guidelines. So this is the color that should be used. Go. This is still pointing to my local version. That's not correct. So let's open another button on the side. There we go. Connect resource group into the app service. Copy this little URL. Go. And then probably need to set on the security side client secrets. App here. This has changed. This is now named user impersonation after I made some changes. Let's go to the definition. Looks good to me. Now let's see if we can make a resource group. Let's build a new resource group. We call Spark Connect. It already exists. Isn't looking properly. Spark Connect, there it is. And we can add a logic app here. Create. And this logic app will name Coco Sim Dialog. Put it in Spark Connects. And we create it from a blank logic app. And we want to use the start dialog. Sign in first. I'll sign in using my own account. Then this should give me a list with all the intents that I can pick from. There is some issue here because it should not show these two. Let's see, contact details. We do have KSM details. We have used this prior. But actually I want to use a new one. So let's go to, in our case, eu.lose.ai. Let's sign in here. Let's create a new entity. Build. So let's get rid of the card name ones, just for test purposes. Here we have some utterances, I believe, for SEM. This is still CSM. I do not see who is the CEM. So let's go back. Let's create a new intent. Let's call this a customer engagement manager. So for example, who is the customer engagement manager for, let's say, Microsoft. Who is the CEM for Microsoft? I want to find the customer engagement manager for a customer. I want to find the SEM for a customer. SEM customer engagement manager. So I think I told it that Microsoft is the customer, so it can recognize this. So now I have created several utterances. So let me train this. And I can test it. Who is the SEM for Google? And it understood that Google is the but does not really understand well the customer names. If I have such a short in utterance, but it keeps coming back at least with the customer engagement manager. So let's publish this version. And let's go back here. And we want to refresh this. So let's get rid of it. Add it again. And this time we have a new intent here. Alright, so this is nice. So if I save this, it should add this dialog to our bot. Let's double check that. First time we're going to use it in production. So we'll go to the resource group, go to the new connect resource group, go to the Cosmos DB, Data Explorer. We have the API storage. We are interested in the items. The last item should be expecting the conversation reference, not the conversation reference. It's just showing me the conversation reference. In other words, the registration did not work. Let's test this out. With the test version. How do we do that rapidly? Not a portal. And then we'll go to the tests users group, and we'll go to the send dialog. Edit. Because this is running to the NG-ROC tunnel. You should be able to see the registration coming through. Let's set a breakpoint. Now I think I already understand what's going on, because I wanted to make a change to the naming, but I did not update it code yet. So let's see. Let's open the API specification. So we have smart sources, smart dialogues, prompts, intents. So I called it smart dialogues, but I have not updated it here. So it's time to do that right away. Let's rename this smart dialogues. And let's rename that too. And then I have a model which is called flow dialog. It's meant to be a smart dialog. And I came to learn that that's not the best way to go about it. So let's do it like this. It's basically doing the same thing, but I was having trouble querying Cosmos DB with the casing if I left it as a naming scheme. URL. Now let's run this. Connect or not. Okay, it's running, and select it. Let's see what intents we have here. It should be the same since we are using the same configuration. Ooh. As IDs no. Means that we are not signed in, are we? Let's ensure that we have the correct. Let's close this one for now, and let's get rid of the existing connections that we have. And it will ask us to recreate the connection when we open it up. Doesn't even understand the connector anymore because it's renamed to smart. Dialog, sign in. There we go. We don't care for the description for now. We just want to ensure that when we take a look at the Cosmos DB, that's a new dialog has been added. It should be this one. Yeah, so here we have this smart dialog. Okay, so that works fine. Let's make sure that we change it, that the other one is removed. Let's switch it to contact details, for example. Refresh. And okay, so it's now contact details. Okay, that works. Now let's commit this change. Let's see this push. So pushing this code will trigger a new build, and that will do a new release to test. And we should be able to follow that. There's the build running. So why do we get back so many intents? Oh. Perhaps because dispatcher is a Lewis service itself. It inherits from Lewis service. Maybe we should just check if that's not type.
Then should I dismiss my real thoughts to protect my kids? Or should I let them see my
Equals
weaknesses?
surface types What's Lewis?
Should I let them see my weaknesses? How will they remember me
I'll test it out in the meantime.
the wild and mundane? 'Cause I'm a whole person like them too. I'll tell the truth
It's running.
when
Click
I
edit
was
again.
wrong. And what I
I'll load the Tense
sacrificed to
API
be
again.
strong. I'll write every day.
And now we see just the intents, nothing more. It's like we want it. So let's commit this.
My journal's like a link book to my brain. So reach out to it, cross the gates. 'Cause everything I am is safe here in my mind. Someone told me that I couldn't be myself.
Next time that we sync, we get that fix. So the build completed. It was already released. Let's release it to production as well.
Selfish and borderline reckless. I mostly broke promises I put myself when I told myself till I could feel no more breath. I'd be better than this, I'd be better than this. Only managed to disappoint myself. No one knows, so they can't force me to look for help. It's a cycle I've repeated and know so well. But
The other thing,
can you keep it?
main dialogue. Every time we go through the login step, and if the login step completes, we get to the, we get a token response, but not anymore the initial request.
It's dark out, I sit in bed, I feel asleep, dark in my eyes. Still awake this late at night. A day done and nothing.
So how do we do that?
Some say it's difficult to find, and the words they just stay inside. How about you start at the beginning? You woke up, go on a listen. Is life like this? Pen to paper alone like this? Is this how they'll see me when I'm gone? Then should I dismiss my real thoughts to protect my kids? Or should I let them see my weaknesses? How will they remember me when I'm gone? Should I let them see my weaknesses? How will they remember me when So I record the same, the wild and mundane. 'Cause I'm a whole person like them too. I'll tell the truth when I was wrong. And what So reach out to it, cross the gate. 'Cause everything I am is safe here in my mind. Someone told me that I couldn't be myself. I would be me even more through my doubts. Get a grip on my soul as you lead on. It's harder to love me now that you can arrange all my flaws. Category, time, date, and cause. Get about halfway and pause. It's not worth it anymore. So I've been greedy and selfish and borderline reckless. I mostly broke promises up with myself when I told myself till I could feel no more breath. I'd be better than this, I'd be better than this. Only managed to disappoint myself. No one knows, so they can't force me to look.
There may be something in the samples.
Can you keep it? It's dark out, I sit in bed. I feel asleep, I get my eyes still awake this late at night. A day done and nothing to write. Some say it's difficult to find new words, they just stay inside. How about you start at the beginning? You woke up, go on and listen.
Yeah, these are fun samples for a Hello World, actually. Bots, but doing a little bit more than that right now. There's no source codes. That's a big image. It's the same documentation. Let's see, maybe this process input. This method is used without help and then default. Sign out the user. Something I do already. Context messages, magic codes. This is for the sign in. yesterday. Ah. We basically just push the text into common state so they can get it later. It probably works. Let's test that out. So maybe we don't need to use a common state. We can perhaps also store the text in the step context itself. Let's see if that works. So let's take the step context, which has the values collection where we can store some stuff in. So for example, let's store here the text. Let's call it text for now. And step context dot context activity text. Then we do the sign in. And then when we get to the next one, next step, we'll verify if we have a successful token. We'll convert the token to a user with claims. And then we say hi. Ask me to. And let's take the text from our text is text values text. Let's just return text back so we can test if this method actually works. Rock so we can start the emulator again. Connect to our dev bot. Should be running any minute now. There we go. Trying to connect. Breakpoints. Right, so there we go. Took a bit of time to load the settings. But eventually we should see a welcome message. If I type hi, it will ask me to sign in. So let's sign in. Yeah, so it remembered the hi. Well, that's exactly what I wanted to do because the problem I have now, so let's just finish one dialogue. So what can I say? This will trigger the Q&A, will reply, and it will end the dialogue. So if we look at the main dialogue, if we look at the waterfall, so first was the login step. It was what you see. This prompt is basically what's being spawned by the login step. Then once I've signed in, it will go to the parse token step. And in the parse token step, we eventually say this particular message, and then we'll wait for the user to, that's what you see here, we end that step with a parse, with a prompt. And then once that prompt completes, we get to the last step, which is a command step. This is going to figure out what to do actually with the with the reply from the user. And once that's finished, all the way down, it will eventually do an end dialog. So the dialog is now completed. So when I say again, what can I say? I would assume that I would receive the same reply. But since it's not, because it will go back to the login step again, and it will trigger this begin this auth prompt. But since I'm already signed in, it will automatically go to the parse token, and that's where you get this instead of just processing this particular message. So now we have this parse token step, and instead of, what we can do now is basically if we do not have the text, for whatever reason, I'm not sure what scenario that will support, but let's put it a little bit close to where we are actually going to need it. So we're going to pull out the text. So we're going to try if string.is null or empty, or white space perhaps even. So this is the case where we did not receive no, it doesn't know that it should be a string. Just explicitly tell it that it is a string that we put in there. So if we do not receive this text, then we'll prompt the user. We'll say hi. What can I do for you? But if not, then we'll continue. Continue dialog async. No. Was it skip? Not read prompts. What was it called? Next async, of course. We'll move on to the next one. And as a result, we'll put in the text. Because then in the next step, we can just take the text from well, no, it's taking it here from the recognize async that expects a turn context. We do not have the turn, we'll just have the, we also recognize with just. Text and it doesn't appear to be. So what we can try to see if we can put the whole turn context. Sounds a bit much, but so we assume it will take the regular context, and the context is in the result. We'll take that. So then the context equals the context of results. Yes. So then for the recognition, I'm using context. Okay, let's see. Let's put a breakpoint here. And let's run this. See if this works. Feels a little bit dirty, but otherwise we will need to recreate the context. Which is also dirty. So let's start over. Let's restart the conversation. Okay. Hi. I was afraid that would happen. So it's not able to serialize the context because the self-referencing loop was detected. So we cannot serialize the context, unfortunately. So why does this recognizer have other stuff? And all the recognized asyncs expect a turn context. This is not gonna work. Alright, so let's get back to the method where we forward text. So can we create a new turn context here? Let's see what they do with the contexts by taking a look at the codes. So this is the Lewis recognizer. Here we have to recognize async, recognize internal async. Recognize internal async. It's basically doing. So where is it using that turn context? If the turn context dot activity type not equals the activity types of message, makes sense. So they're getting the utterance from the turn context. But do they use it for anything else? They're using trace activity on the turn context as well. Can we create a new turn context from an existing turn context? Because we have the step context that has a context which is in turn text. Create turn context. I think we should be able to get the adapter. Yeah. That needed to go in here. perhaps we can also stick in here the activity as a whole. So this wasn't working. So let's try to stick in the text and the activity. Let's just go with you. So okay, then we have the activity. Hopefully, can serialize that. It needs to be a proper activity. Sure, why not? Let's use it there as well. Oh, we didn't call it. Can it be an iMessage activity then? No. It's to be an activity. Alright, so let's see if this works. Oh, hi, Viable Clan member. The code is a bit fuzzy at 720p. Sorry, I didn't see the chat. Is it fuzzy but readable, or is it unreadable? And do you prefer me to stream in 1080p, or what is it that you're used to actually? I'm streaming now at 720p, but I think I can try increasing the resolution a bit next time. So just let me know and I'll see what I can do. See, that's already getting late, so we'll have to wrap it up, unfortunately, in a few minutes. But I just want to see if we can get this to work. We'll restart the conversation again. And let me type hi. No. This is an issue with the emulator. Where it will not give me the proper URL. Already submitted this to the GitHub. There's an issue there regarding that particular problem. It is fixed by restarting. Alright, now we get the proper URL. what is this all about? Not sure what this is. It's like every step we take now, it's getting worse. Okay. Alright, so now we should get back our activity. What activity did we receive? So this is an activity now. What activity is this? Let's check out the type. It's the message and it's high. Yeah, so this is the activity that we put in the context, and this is a other type of activity. This is an event, so that's the activity that we couldn't use before. Right, so now over here we're going to try to create a turn context with it. Do the recognition, and that's null. Because we still use the regular context, so that's stupid. We need to use the turn context that we created, of course. Alright, let's try again. Starting up. Restart the conversation. Hi. And again, authentication is broken, so I have to restart the emulator. Alright, so this time it's using it was using the turn context that we created, so where's this exception coming from? Let's view the stack trace. No. So it's the recognized internal async. It's calling the send activity async, is it? Why is it calling the? It's not. Recognize internal async. Turn contexts. Libraries. Turn context. Line 196. Send activities async. Why is that even doing? I'm a bit stuck now. I cannot understand which line 385. It's in the trace activity async. So it's not really send activity async, it's more trace activity async. There it goes all south. Here we have the message. Maybe we can check out. Framework adapter line 357. Framework adapter 357. Somewhere here. So So perhaps it's this turn state. I've read somewhere about delegating turn context. Is that delegating turn context? Okay. Let's check it. This is a long shot, but let's see. It's the last attempt that I do for today. If this works, I'm gonna be a happy guy. If not, then we'll have to sleep on it and maybe figure it out Wednesday. Okay. Hi. Still signed in probably. And no, still the same. So there's something up with the turn context that I create that does not allow it to be used in the recognize async, and I'll have to figure out why. But I'll have to leave it here for now, unfortunately. So yeah, that's too bad. So I see there's still someone following and me along, struggling with this. Yeah, so I was hoping to get this to work, but yeah, like with software development, that's not always the case. So I hope you enjoyed it anyway, learned maybe a bit of it, and I'll be continuing this project on Wednesday. So Wednesday at 4 p.m. CET, Central European Time. So and that's 7 a.m. PST, Pacific Time. So feel free to join me then. And in the meantime, I'll think of a solution, and hopefully by Wednesday we have something that we can actually implement. So thanks anyway for sticking around, and well, have a good rest of your day, and hope to see you again on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.